Order. Via remote technology, I call the member for Mildura.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is for the Minister for Education. In 2019, I visited Hopetoun P-12 for the first time and was introduced to the unfortunate condition of the school science and food tech rooms. The Andrews government prides itself on its commitment to education, and I acknowledge the enormous amount of funding that's been invested over the past 6 years to give Victorian kids facilities they need for a high-quality 21st century education. But what is evident when you step inside those classrooms is that Hopetoun P-12 has been left behind. Unfortunately, to date, successive governments have not invested in Hopetoun P-12's facilities. Last year, in response to a question from me, you committed to visiting Hopetoun P-12 to inspect the school, but to date, you've not been able to visit as a result of COVID-19 restrictions. Will you, Minister, commit to funding this upgrade in the 2020 state budget?
Call the Minister for Education.
Thank you, Speaker, and I thank the independent member for Mildura for her question. And can I acknowledge at the outset, Speaker, the advocacy of the member for Mildura in terms of education. Since being elected to this place and having an independent voice in Mildura, we have someone who is passionate about education and the transformative role that it plays, particularly in regional Victoria. And I do acknowledge the many conversations that we've had and the many times the member has raised the needs of Hopetoun P-12 College with me. Before I do get to the substantive question, can I take this opportunity to pay tribute to the school community at Hopetoun P-12, to Graham Holmes, the principal, to the school staff, teachers, support staff, all the students. This has been such a difficult year, and you've seen at the school whether it's going to great lengths to keep the primary kids engaged in their learning, celebrating special days, their years 10, 11, 12 following their face-to-face timetable through the period of remote learning, and whole school assemblies where the captains are leading it and talking about their experiences with remote learning. So please pass on my thanks to the school community. Back to school capital and your point about successive governments, there is a stark contrast. $7 million, the last time the Lib Nats were in office, $24 million in the Andrews Labor government's first term. Irimple Secondary College, Merbein Peter 10, Mildura West Primary School, Redcliffe Secondary College. But as the member outlines, there is more to do, and I absolutely acknowledge that. To that end, the independent member for Mildura knows that we have recently allocated $1.059 million from the Infrastructure Planning and Acceleration Fund to plan, design and document a major upgrade of this terrific school. These projects were identified as a priority, and just last week the school attended the Bricks and Mortar Workshop, which provides training for principals and school leaders in the Capital Work program. And all of this planning ensures that when funding is provided in a future budget, they are ready to go. Now, in terms of future funding, the Treasurer will kick me in the calf if I make any budget announcements today, so I cannot do that. But my message to you, my message to the Hopetoun P-12 school community is that this is a priority, and the Andrews government has a record of finishing what we started. This is an important project, and I'll continue to work with the member and the Hopetoun school community.
Member for Mildura on a supplementary question.
Yes, thank you, Speaker. The design of the food tech and science rooms is clearly outdated, and it's highly concerning that Hopetoun children don't have the same access to quality facilities that other kids do. Will you contact the school as a matter of urgency? You may have already answered this, but for the sake of confirmation, to give them some reassurance that you have heard their concerns and will fix their school?
Minister for Education.
Thank you for the supplementary question. Not only will I contact the school and give them that message of reassurance that we will finish what we started, that we don't start planning. We know that there's more to do at Hopetoun, but now that we are just about to open up and be able to travel from metropolitan Melbourne to regional Victoria, I look forward to visiting the school with the independent member for Mildura and talking directly to the school leadership, council and the community about their needs. We know that the most important thing is what happens inside a school, the quality of the teaching, the quality of the learning, but we know that facilities do make a difference, providing 21st century facilities to match the wonderful teaching and learning that happens at Hopetoun P-12 College. So I certainly look forward to visiting the school in the near future.
On a minister's statement, I call the Deputy Premier and Minister for Education.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I rise to update the House on how, despite the challenges of COVID-19, the Andrews Labor government continues to deliver the 100 new schools that we promised we would build across Victoria by 2026, ensuring that every Victorian student has access to a great local school. We are on track to deliver this commitment, Speaker, with 14 schools to open on day one, Term 1 2021, and I'm delighted to update the House on the progress of each of these schools, as well as advise the Chamber of their official names. So we have recently completed, Speaker, 2021 schools: Keele-on-Heath Primary School in the Minister for Community Sports electorate, Docklands Primary School, which I know the Minister for Health has been a long-time advocate, Eynesbury Primary School in the Member for Melton's electorate, Oberon High School, a brand new school that is being relocated, which I know the Member for South Barwon and Geelong are pleased to see completed, Edgars Creek Primary School in the Member for Thomastown's electorate reached practical completion just yesterday. Of the remaining schools, Ramlee Park Primary School and Edenbrook in Bass, Aintree Primary School in Cororoit, Cranbourne West Secondary School in Cranbourne, Footscray High School's Pilgrim Campus, Gayib Yagala Primary School in Yuroke, Gurrim Willem Primary School in Tarneet, Orchard Park Primary School in Gembrook and Riverbend Primary School in Werribee all are forecast to be complete next month, well ahead of day one, term 1, 2021. But Speaker, there's always an alternative. There is always a choice. We made a commitment for 100 brand new primary schools by 2026. We are well on our way. The alternative, Speaker, was not 100, was not 50, was not 25, was not 10, it was 4, Speaker. Absolutely pathetic.
Order.